Take your hands off my wedding dress! I did not steal your dress. I made it.
Adanna?
Adanna stood beside the white dress with tears in her eyes. Two guards grabbed her arms, while the rich bride pointed at her like she was a criminal. Women laughed. Others covered their mouths. "You came here to steal what you can never afford," the bride said. Adanna looked at the dress again. She knew every flower on it. She knew every small bead. She even knew the tiny mistake hidden under the left sleeve. Why? Because Adanna had drawn that dress with her own hands. She had cut the cloth. She had sewn the first sample late at night, beside her sick father. But nobody in that bright room knew the truth. Not the bride, not the guards, and most of all, not the groom standing outside the door. The same man who had once promised Adanna he would never leave her. Then he was about to walk inside. 3 months before that terrible fitting, Adanna lived with her father in a small house at the edge of Umuaka town. Her father, Papa Eze, was a tailor. His shop had one old sewing machine. The machine made a loud sound. Kata kata kata. Everyone in the street knew that sound. Papa Eze had made clothes for farmers, teachers, mothers, children, and even chiefs when he was younger. But age had made his hands weak. His eyes could no longer see small stitches well. So Adanna helped him. She was 24 years old. She had no fine clothes. She had no gold. But she could look at plain cloth and see something beautiful inside it. Sometimes she drew dresses on old paper bags. Sometimes she drew on the back of food boxes. One morning, Papa Eze picked up one of her drawings. It was a wedding dress. He stared at it for a long time. Then he asked one strange question. "Who are you making this dress for?" Adanna quickly took the paper from him. "For nobody, Papa." Papa Eze smiled, but his eyes became sad. He knew Adanna was lying. There had once been a man named Chidi. Chidi was the son of a trader. When he was young, he had no car. He had no big house. He had no rich friends. He often came to Papa Eze's shop with torn shirts. Adanna repaired them. That was how they became friends. Then friends became something more. Chidi used to sit beside Adanna while she worked. He would say, "One day, when I have money, you will make your own wedding dress." Adanna would laugh. "And who will I marry?" Chidi would touch his chest. "Who else?" But dreams can change when money enters the room. Chidi went to Lagos to work with his uncle. At first, he called Adanna every day, then every week, then once a month. Then one day, the calls stopped. Months later, a shiny black car entered Umuaka, and Chidi stepped out. But he was not alone. Beside him was a woman named Nkiru. Nkiru was beautiful. Her hair was long. Her shoes shone. Her bag cost more than Papa Eze's sewing shop. Her father owned hotels, shops, and trucks. People followed her online and copied the clothes she wore. When Chidi introduced her, his voice shook. "This is Nkiru," he said. "We are getting married." Adanna felt something break inside her, but she did not cry in front of him. She only smiled. "I wish you both well." Chidi looked at the ground. He could not look into her eyes. Nkiru looked around the little tailor shop. She touched a piece of cheap cloth. Then she wiped her fingers on a small cloth from her bag. Adanna saw it. So did Papa Eze. Before they left, Nkiru noticed several drawings on the wall. Her eyes stopped on one drawing. A wedding dress, the same dress Papa Eze had asked about. And next morning, Adanna noticed something strange. The wedding dress drawing was gone. She searched everywhere, under the sewing table, inside drawers, behind bags of cloth. "Papa, did you move my drawing?" Papa Eze shook his head. Adanna stopped. Only 4 people had entered the shop the day before. Herself, her father, Chidi, and Nkiru. But Adanna pushed the thought away. Maybe the wind had carried it. Maybe she had put it somewhere and forgotten. She had bigger problems. Papa Eze had been coughing badly for weeks. That morning, he almost fell beside the sewing machine. Adanna caught him. "Papa, I am fine," he said. But he was not fine. The doctor in town said he needed tests and medicine. The money was more than Adanna had. That evening, she counted every note in their small wooden box. It was not enough. Then someone knocked on the door. A woman stood outside, and she carried a business card from the biggest fashion shop in town. The woman's name was Madame Ugo. She owned a large shop called Golden Needle. Rich women came from far places to buy wedding clothes there. Madame Ugo smiled when she entered Papa Eze's little shop. "I hear the girl here can draw," she said. Adanna looked surprised. "Who told you?" Madame Ugo did not answer. Instead, she placed money on the table. It was more money than Adanna had seen in months. "I need new wedding dress ideas," she said. "You draw them. I pay you." Adanna looked at her father. Papa Eze looked weak. They needed the money. "What happens to my drawings?" Adanna asked. "They become part of my shop," Madame Ugo said. "Will my name be on them?" Madame Ugo smiled. "We will talk about that later." Adanna should have asked more questions. But Papa Eze started coughing again, so she picked up the money, and that choice would soon cost her much more than she knew. For the next 2 weeks, Adanna worked day and night. She drew 10 dresses. Madame Ugo liked none of them. "I need something people have never seen," she said. Adanna felt tired. Then she remembered the missing wedding dress drawing. She could still see it inside her head, a soft white dress, small flowers on the waist, tiny beads around the neck, long sleeves that opened near the hands, and on the back, a pattern shaped like 2 birds flying toward each other. Adanna had first drawn those birds years ago. They had once meant her and Chidi. That night, she made the dress again from memory. But she changed one thing. Instead of 2 birds touching, she left a small space between them. Papa Eze saw it. "Why did you separate the birds?" he asked. Adanna looked away. "Some birds are not meant to fly together, Papa." The next morning, Madame Ugo saw the design. Her mouth opened. "This," she whispered. "This is the one." But she did not tell Adanna who the dress was really for. Madame Ugo paid Adanna more money. Adanna used most of it for her father's medicine. For the first time in weeks, Papa Eze slept without coughing all night. Adanna felt thankful. Madame Ugo then asked her to make the first sample of the dress. "You have better hands than my workers," she said. So Adanna worked on the dress after dark. She cut cheap cloth first. She fixed the shape. She changed the sleeves. She moved the flowers. She made small notes beside every part. Madame Ugo came every few days and took the notes away. One evening, Adanna asked again, "Will the customer know I made this?" Madame Ugo placed her hand on Adanna's shoulder. "My dear, rich people do not ask who held the needle. They only care who owns the shop." Adanna did not like those words, but she needed the work. Then Madame Ugo said something that made Adanna freeze. "The bride wants the final dress ready in 6 weeks." Adanna looked up. "Which bride?" Madame Ugo smiled. "Nkiru." The needle fell from Adanna's fingers. For several seconds she could not speak. "You mean Chidi's Nkiru?" Madame Ugo raised one eyebrow. "Do you know another one?" Adanna stared at the unfinished dress. The dress she had once dreamed of wearing. The dress with the 2 birds. Now she was making it for the woman Chidi had chosen instead of her. "I cannot do it," Adanna said. Madame Ugo's smile disappeared. "You already took my money. I used it for my father's medicine. Then return it." Adanna had nothing left to return. Madame Ugo leaned close. "Finish the dress. And this stays simple." Adanna felt trapped. That night, she told Papa Eze everything. He listened quietly. Then he asked, "Can your heart survive making that dress?" Adanna looked at her father's medicine beside the bed. "I don't know." Papa Eze held her hand. "Then remember this. Your hands work for money, but your gift belongs to you." Adanna did not understand how important those words would become. Work on the dress began. Madame Ugo brought expensive white cloth from Lagos. It was soft like water. Adanna had never touched cloth like it. She washed her hands 3 times before she began. For many nights, she worked alone. Sometimes tears fell on the table. She wiped them before they could touch the cloth. She sewed each flower by hand. She placed hundreds of tiny beads around the neck. She shaped the back, so the 2 birds seemed to move when the dress moved. Then she did something Papa Eze had taught her when she was a little girl. Every true tailor leaves a mark, he used to say. Not a big mark, just something small. Adanna took blue thread. Inside the lower part of the dress, where nobody would see, she sewed 3 tiny letters. A, E, E, Adanna Eze's embroidery. Then she added Papa Eze's old sign, a tiny star with 4 points. She smiled. No one knew it was there, or so she thought. One afternoon, Madame Ugo came early. Adanna quickly covered the dress. Madame Ugo frowned. Why are you hiding it? I was protecting it. Madame Ugo pulled the cloth away. She looked over every part. Then she smiled. It is perfect. Adanna felt proud for one small moment. When Nkiru sees it, please tell her who made it. Madame Ugo laughed. You still do not understand business. She pulled a paper from her bag. It showed an ad for Nkiru's new clothing line. At the top were the words, the Nkiru Royal Bridal Design. Under it was Adanna's dress. Adanna stared at the page. She is saying she designed it? Madame Ugo folded the paper. She is paying well. But it is mine. Madame Ugo's face became cold. Prove it. Adanna suddenly realized something terrible. Madame Ugo had taken every drawing, every note, every paper. Adanna had almost nothing left. Almost. At home that night, Adanna searched through an old basket. She remembered making a mistake on the first sample. She had cut one sleeve too short. She threw the piece aside. Now she found it. On that old cloth were small pencil marks, showing where the flowers should go. Beside them was her handwriting. Papa Eze looked at it. Keep that safe. Adanna wrapped it inside an old newspaper. Then Papa Eze pointed at her wooden box. What about your first drawing? It disappeared. Papa Eze became quiet. He walked to the wall where the drawing had once hung. Then he said, the day Chidi came with Nkiru, I saw someone near this wall while you went for water. Who? Papa Eze frowned. I only saw a hand. Adanna's heart began to beat faster. Was it Chidi? Papa Eze shook his head. The hand had long red nails. Adanna remembered Nkiru's red nails that day. But why would a rich woman steal a poor girl's drawing? Weeks passed. Pictures of the dress appeared everywhere. People praised Nkiru. What a gifted woman. She designed her own wedding dress. This will make her clothing line famous. Nkiru gave an interview. She sat inside a large room and smiled at the camera. I wanted something that came from my heart, she said. Adanna watched from Papa Eze's small house. Her hands shook. Papa Eze turned off the television. Do not let anger eat you. She took my work, Papa. I know. And everyone believes her. Papa Eze looked toward the sewing machine. The lie may run fast, he said, but truth knows the road home. Adanna wanted to believe him. Then her phone rang. Madame Ugo was calling. Nkiru's final fitting was the next morning, and Madame Ugo wanted Adanna there. Why do I need to come? Adanna asked. The left sleeve is not sitting well. You have workers. They cannot fix it. Adanna almost laughed. The woman had claimed her work belonged to others. Now those others could not repair it. I will pay you, Madame Ugo said. Adanna looked at Papa Eze. His medicine was almost finished again. So Adanna said yes. But she made one decision. She put the old sleeve piece inside her bag. The next morning, Adanna reached the Grand Palm Hotel. She had never entered such a place. The floor shone like glass. Flowers stood in large gold pots. People wore clothes that cost more than her home. Adanna wore a simple yellow dress she had made herself. A worker looked at her from head to toe. Delivery entrance is behind the building. I am here for the bride's dress fitting. The worker laughed. Then Madame Hugo appeared. She is with me. Adanna followed her upstairs. When they reached the fitting room, loud voices came from inside. Sarah's voice cut through the ambient cafe noise like a jagged blade. I don't know why I even agreed to see you, David. Nkiru wanted pictures for her clothing page. Madame Hugo whispered, "Fix the sleeve. Say nothing." Adanna entered, and when Nkiru saw her, her smile died. You? Adanna stopped near the door. Nkiru looked at Madame Hugo. Why is she here? She is one of my sewing girls, Madame Hugo said quickly. The words hurt, but Adanna stayed quiet. Nkiru's friends stared at her. One whispered something, another laughed. Nkiru walked toward Adanna. So you work for Madame Hugo now. I help sometimes. Nkiru smiled. I heard your father's shop is not doing well. Adanna's face became hot. We manage. Nkiru turned to her friends. Some people will do anything when they need money. More laughter. Madame Hugo touched Adanna's arm. Just fix the sleeve. Adanna walked toward the dress. Her dress. But as soon as her fingers touched it, Nkiru shouted, Wait! Everyone turned. Nkiru grabbed Adanna's wrist. What are you doing? Madame Hugo asked me to fix my diamond pin. Nkiru touched the table beside the dress. A small box was open. It was here. Adanna stepped back. I did not take anything. Nkiru looked at her bag. Then open your bag. The room went very quiet. Adanna held the bag close. Inside was the old sleeve piece. If they saw it, questions would come. But she had nothing to hide. Fine. Before she could open it herself, one of Nkiru's friends pulled it from her hand. Give it back. The woman emptied everything onto the floor. A comb, a small purse, thread, needles, Papa Eze's medicine paper, and the old piece of white cloth. Nkiru picked it up. Her face changed. Why do you have cloth from my dress? Adanna looked straight at her. Because I made it. For 1 second, nobody laughed. Then Nkiru burst into laughter. Her friends joined her. You made my dress? Nkiru held the cloth high. This girl has lost her mind. Madame Hugo's face became pale. Adanna saw it. She knew Madame Hugo was afraid. This piece is from the first sample, Adanna said. Look at the pencil marks. Nkiru turned to Madame Hugo. Is that true? Madame Hugo quickly shook her head. No, she helped with small work only. That is a lie, Adanna said. Madame Hugo's eyes became sharp. Be careful. Adanna felt something wake inside her. For weeks, she had stayed quiet. Not anymore. I drew the dress. I made the sample. I placed every flower. I made the bird pattern. Nkiru's smile disappeared. Then one of her friends shouted, The pin! Everyone looked down. The missing diamond pin lay near Adanna's foot. Adanna stared at it in shock. She had not seen it fall. Nkiru pointed at her. You thief! That was not in my bag. It is beside you. I did not take it, but nobody listened. Nkiru's mother stood up. Call security. 2 guards entered. One took Adanna's arm. She pulled away. Do not touch me. Nkiru stood beside the dress. You came here because you are jealous. Adanna looked at her. Jealous? You wanted Chidi. Now you want my wedding. Adanna felt the whole room watching her. Nkiru moved closer. You think because he once liked you, you can enter my life and destroy things. Adanna's eyes filled with tears. She wanted to scream. Instead, she pointed at the dress. I do not want your wedding. Her voice shook. But do not call my work yours. Nkiru lifted her chin. You are a poor tailor's daughter. Adanna nodded slowly. Yes. Then she said, and this poor tailor's daughter made the dress you are wearing. That was when the door opened. Chidi walked in. He had heard the shouting from the hall. At first he smiled. What is happening here? Then he saw Adanna between the 2 guards. His face changed. Adanna? Nkiru rushed to him. She tried to steal from me. I did not. Nkiru held up the cloth. And now she says she designed my dress. Chidi stared at Adanna. For a moment, something old passed between them. He remembered sitting in Papa Eze's shop. He remembered Adanna drawing dresses while he talked about the future. Then his eyes moved to the back of Nkiru's dress, the two birds. His face lost its color. He had seen those birds before. Years ago, Adanna had drawn them on a piece of paper. She had laughed and said, "That is us." Chidi stepped closer. "Where did this design come from?" Nkiru froze. "Why are you asking me that?" Chidi touched one of the birds. "You said you made this design yourself." "I did." Chidi slowly shook his head. "No." Everyone became silent. Nkiru's mother stood. "Chidi, this is not the time." But Chidi kept looking at the dress. He remembered more now. The flowers, the open sleeves, even the shape around the neck. Adanna had shown him parts of it years before. He had forgotten. Or maybe he had chosen to forget. "Adanna," he said quietly, "did you really make this?" Before she could answer, Madame Ugo stepped between them. "She worked for me, that is all." Chidi turned. "So she helped. Small work." Adanna laughed, but there was no joy in it. "Ask her who knows how to fix the left sleeve." Madame Ugo said nothing. "Ask her why I was called here today." Still nothing. Then Adanna looked at Nkiru. "And ask your bride where she got the first drawing." Nkiru's eyes moved away. Chidi saw it. That small movement told him more than words. "What drawing?" he asked. Nkiru became angry. "Why are you questioning me because of her? Answer me." Nkiru folded her arms. "I found a drawing." "Where?" She did not answer. Adanna whispered, "My father's shop." Chidi stepped back. Now everyone was looking at Nkiru. Her friends stopped smiling. Her mother said, "This is foolish. Remove that girl." The guards pulled Adanna again. As they moved her toward the door, Adanna looked at Chidi. She did not beg him. She did not ask him to save her. She only said, "Look inside the bottom of the dress." Chidi frowned. "What?" "My father taught me never to make something beautiful without leaving the truth inside it." Then the guards pushed Adanna into the hall. The door closed behind her. But Chidi could not forget her words. Inside the fitting room, Nkiru tried to laugh. "You see, she is crazy." But Chidi was no longer listening. He knelt near the bottom of the dress. Nkiru stepped back. "What are you doing? Stand still." He carefully lifted the inner cloth. Madame Ugo rushed forward. "There is nothing there." That made Chidi even more sure he needed to look. He searched the inside edge. Then he saw blue thread. 3 tiny letters. A, E, E. Beside them was a 4-point star. Chidi knew that star. Papa Eze put it inside every fine dress he made. Chidi had seen it many times as a young man. His hands began to shake. "What does AEE mean?" Nkiru asked. Chidi stood slowly. "It means Adanna Eze." Madame Ugo tried to speak, but Chidi turned to her. "Tell us the truth." Madame Ugo looked around. Cameras were still recording. Nkiru's friends were watching. Her mother was watching. She could no longer hide. "She made most of it," Madame Ugo said. Nkiru gasped. "Most?" Madame Ugo looked down. "She made all of it." The room felt cold. Nkiru's face became white. "What do you mean, all of it?" "She drew it. She made the first sample. She changed the shape. She chose the flowers. She placed the beads." Nkiru stared at herself in the mirror. The dress people had praised her for. The dress she had called her own dream. The dress she planned to use to sell hundreds more. It belonged to the woman she had just called a thief. Then Chidi asked one more question. "Did Nkiru know?" Madame Ugo did not answer. Nkiru shouted, "Do not say anything." That was enough. Chidi turned to her. "You knew." Nkiru's eyes filled with anger. "I found the first drawing." "Yes. You took it." "I borrowed it." "From Adanna's wall?" Nkiru looked away. "I liked it." "So you stole her drawing?" "It was just paper." Chidi stared at her. "No, it was her work." Nkiru pointed toward the door. And now you are defending her because you still love her. The room became silent again. Chidi did not answer, and his silence hurt Nkiru more than any word. Outside the hotel, Adanna sat on a low wall. She had been thrown out through a side door. Her bag was messy. Her hands were shaking. Worst of all, the diamond pin had made her look guilty. She knew someone must have dropped it near her. But who? She wiped her tears. Then she heard footsteps. One of Nkiru's friends, Amaka, came running outside. Adanna, Adanna stood. I do not want more trouble. Wait. Amaka looked ashamed. I saw something. What? When they emptied your bag, the diamond pin was not there. Adanna stopped breathing. Amaka continued. I saw Nkiru's cousin bend near you. I thought she dropped something by mistake. Will you say that inside? Amaka looked back at the hotel. Fear filled her face. Nkiru's family knows my family. Adanna understood. Money could make people quiet. But then Amaka pulled out her phone. The camera was recording the whole time. Adanna stared at her. Did it catch what happened? Amaka swallowed. I think it did. Back upstairs, the wedding fitting had become a fight. Nkiru was crying. Her mother was blaming Madame Ugo. Madame Ugo was blaming Nkiru. Chidi stood away from them all. He felt sick, not only because of the stolen dress, but because he remembered why he had left Adanna. When his uncle's business became big, Chidi wanted a different life. He wanted rich friends. He wanted respect. He wanted people to see him as important. Nkiru's family had all of that. Adanna had love, but at the time, love had looked too small. Now he saw the dress. Every stitch showed patience. Every bead showed care. The woman he had left had become more gifted than he had ever known. Then Amaka entered the room. Adanna followed behind her. Nkiru shouted, Why is she back? Amaka raised her phone. Because we have another problem. She played the video. Everyone watched. The bag was emptied. No diamond pin fell out. Then the camera moved. Nkiru's cousin bent down beside Adanna. Her hand opened. Something bright dropped near Adanna's shoe. The room exploded with voices. Nkiru looked at her cousin. What did you do? Her cousin began to cry. Your mother told me to. Every face turned toward Nkiru's mother. She stood very still. Nkiru whispered, Mama? Her mother lifted her chin. I wanted that girl gone. Why? Because I knew who she was. Chidi stared at her. You knew about Adanna? Of course. People told me you once wanted to marry her. She looked at Adanna. A poor tailor's daughter should know her place. Papa Eze's words came back to Adanna. Your gift belongs to you. Adanna looked at the rich woman. My place is not below you. Nkiru's mother laughed. You think one dress makes you equal to us? Adanna shook her head. No. She pointed toward the dress. My work does not make me equal to you. I was already equal to you before I made it. No one laughed this time. The next day, the video spread across Umuaka. Not because Adanna posted it. Amaka did. She showed the false stealing claim. She showed the hidden mark inside the dress. She told people who really made it. Soon, people who had praised Nkiru began asking questions. Who is Adanna Eze? Where is her shop? Can she make dresses for us? Madame Ugo came to Papa Eze's home before noon. She carried money. A lot of money. I want to fix this, she said. Adanna did not touch it. You want me to stay quiet. I want peace. Papa Eze sat beside the old sewing machine. He looked at Madame Ugo. Peace without truth is only silence. Madame Ugo lowered her eyes. She offered to put Adanna's name on the dress. Adanna said no. You will put my name on every copy you already sold. Madame Ugo's eyes widened. And you will pay me for each one. Madame Ugo knew she had no choice. But one person still had not come to speak. Chidi. He arrived that evening alone. Adanna was outside hanging cloth when his car stopped. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Chidi looked around the small yard. It was the same place where he had once eaten mangoes with her. the same place where they had planned a future. "I am sorry," he said. Adanna continued hanging the cloth. "For what?" "For leaving." She stopped. He stepped closer. "I was foolish. Yes. I thought money would make life better." "Did it?" Chidi had no answer. He looked at her. "I did love you." Adanna's eyes became wet. Then why was it so easy to choose a richer woman? Chidi looked down. "It was not easy." Adanna shook her head. "Do not make your choice sound like something that happened to you. You chose." Those words hit him hard. Then he said the thing Adanna had feared. "The wedding may not happen." Adanna looked at him. "Why are you telling me?" Chidi moved closer. "Because maybe we still—" "No." The word came fast. Chidi froze. Adanna took a slow breath. "You do not get to return, because the shiny door you chose became ugly. I know I hurt you. You did. I can change. Maybe you can." Hope appeared in his eyes, but Adanna continued. "Change for yourself, not for me." Chidi stared at her. The woman before him was not the girl he had left waiting for his calls. She had grown, and he had returned too late. Before he left, Papa Eze came outside. Chidi greeted him. Papa Eze nodded. Then he said, "My son, when you throw away a seed because it looks small, do not come back crying when another man finds the tree." Chidi said nothing. He entered his car and drove away. Adanna watched until the dust settled. She felt pain. But for the first time, the pain did not control her. She went back inside. 2 days later, Nkiru came. She came without her mother, without friends, without cameras. She wore a simple dress. Adanna almost did not know her. Nkiru stood at the door of the little shop. "I came to return something." She placed an old piece of paper on the table. Adanna opened it. Her missing drawing. The first wedding dress. The 2 birds were still touching in that old drawing. Adanna ran her fingers across it. "You kept this?" Nkiru nodded. "I was jealous." "Of what?" Nkiru gave a sad laugh. "You." Adanna could not believe it. Nkiru sat down. "When Chidi brought me here that day, I saw how he looked at you." Adanna said nothing. "I knew there had been something between you. Then I saw the drawing. It was beautiful. I wanted something of yours to become mine." Nkiru began to cry. "But I took more than a drawing." Adanna looked at her quietly. Nkiru wiped her face. "I took your work. I took your credit. Then I let people shame you." "Yes, I am sorry." Adanna did not quickly say, "I forgive you. Some wounds need time." Instead, she asked, "What happens now?" Nkiru looked at the old drawing. "The wedding is off." Adanna's heart jumped, but she showed nothing. "Chidi ended it?" "No, I did." Adanna looked surprised. Nkiru smiled sadly. He wanted answers. "I wanted someone who would choose me without comparing me to another woman." For the first time, Adanna saw Nkiru not as a rich enemy, but as a person who had also been afraid. Nkiru stood. "I will tell everyone the truth." "All of it?" "All of it." "And the clothing line?" "I will remove my name from your design." Adanna nodded. Then Nkiru asked one last thing. "Can you ever forgive me?" Adanna looked at the dress drawing. Maybe. It was not the answer Nkiru wanted, but it was the honest one. A week later, Nkiru made a public video. She admitted she had taken Adanna's drawing. She admitted Adanna had designed the famous dress. She also said her mother had tried to frame Adanna with the diamond pin. Many people were shocked. Some attacked Nkiru. Others praised her for finally telling the truth. But Adanna did not spend her days reading comments. She had too much work. Women began coming from many towns. Some wanted wedding dresses. Some wanted church clothes. Some wanted simple dresses for their daughters. Papa Eze's old machine could not keep up. Kata kata kata, morning to night. Then one afternoon, a truck stopped outside the shop. Adanna walked out. 2 men carried down a brand new sewing machine. "Who bought this?" she asked. The driver handed her a card. There was no name, only a short message. "Your gift should never have to hide." Adanna thought it might be Chidi. Papa Eze thought it might be Nkiru. Neither ever found out. And perhaps that was better. 1 month later, Adanna opened a new shop. It was not huge. It had no gold walls. But it was hers. Above the door were the words, Adanna Eze Designs. Papa Eze cried when he saw the sign. You used your name. Adanna smiled. Yes, Papa. Inside the shop, she placed the old wedding drawing on the wall. Not because she still wanted Chidi. Not because she wanted to remember Nkiru. She placed it there to remember the girl she had once been. The girl who thought losing one man meant losing her future. The girl who did not yet know what her own hands could build. Under the drawing, she placed the small piece from the first dress sample. And beside it, she wrote one short line. Never hide the hand that made the beauty. Years passed. Adanna became known far beyond Umuaka. Young girls came to learn from her. Some were poor. Some had been told they were not good enough. Some had no parents. Some could not pay. Adanna still taught them. Whenever someone asked why, she told them, a gift grows when you share it. Papa Eze sat near the window each day. His health became better. He no longer needed to work. But sometimes he still touched the cloth and gave advice. Your line is not straight. Papa, it is true. They would laugh. As for Chidi, he later married another woman. Adanna wished him well from far away. As for Nkiru, she started again too. This time, when she worked with artists, she put their names beside their work. She and Adanna never became close friends, but when they met, they greeted each other with respect, and that was enough. One evening, as the sun went down over Umuaka, Papa Eze sat outside Adanna's shop. He watched girls inside learning to sew. The machines made a happy sound, kata kata kata. He looked at his daughter. Do you remember when you thought that wedding dress broke your heart? Adanna smiled. Yes. Papa Eze pointed toward her busy shop. Maybe it opened a door instead. Adanna looked at the old drawing on the wall. The two birds still touched there. She no longer felt pain when she saw them. Some dreams do not come true in the way we first want. Sometimes they break. Sometimes people leave. Sometimes someone takes what belongs to us. But if we keep our courage, the end of one dream can become the start of something better. And Adanna finally understood what her father had told her. Her hands could work for money, but her gift belonged to her. Never look down on someone because they are poor, and never take credit for another person's gift. A lie may shine for a short time, but the truth will always find its way into the light. Thank you for listening to this story. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button and subscribe so you never miss a new story. And please tell me in the comments, where are you listening from today? I would love to know. Until next time, goodbye.